Hey, it's Jess. Welcome back. Today I'm here with a book haul. I recently went on vacation to visit my mom, and she took me to Barnes& and Noble and let me pick out some books. My birthday is this month, and since I was visiting her, she let me pick out some books, and then they left me unsupervised, and now I have a whole bunch of books. And I want to talk to you about them. So, the first couple books I'm going to talk about are actually books that my husband picked out, but I will probably read them too, and so that's why I'm including them in this haul. So, the first book that my husband picked out was The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I don't really know anything about this, but it's the beginning of a trilogy. Yes, the Lacanius trilogy. I don't know how to say that. I've heard a lot about this on BookTube, and he really likes fantasy books, so he picked it up, and he hasn't started this one yet. The next book he picked was Malice by John Gwynne. This is The Faithful and the Fallen. I think there's 4 books in this. It's about warriors, I think. I don't know. I've heard a lot of really good things about John Gwynne's writing. I really want to read The Shadow of the Gods and the sequel to that one. But I've heard really good things about these books too. So we'll see what that one's about. This is the one that he started first. Then he picked up The Last Ronin by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. This, as soon as I saw this in the store, I was like, I know that my husband is going to pick that up. He loves the Ninja Turtles. He loves the story of The Last Ronin. I don't know. I saw it and I was like, oh, I bet he picks that one up. And he did. My children also got some books. My son got some books about Kobe Bryant, and my daughter got some Wings of Fire graphic novels and an Inuyasha novel. Their interests are very different from each other, but they already have those books, so I don't have them here to show you. And one more book that was not from my book haul, but that my best friend gave me for my birthday is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. This is an annotated version, and so it has like notes. I don't know how well you can see that. It has notes along the side about the story and about the illustrations. The Phantom Tollbooth is one of my favorite books of all time. I do have a shirt with the cover. I've worn it in a couple of my videos. I don't know. I love it. I love everything about it. I don't know. I can't even describe why. I love the way that it plays with language. And if you've never read it, you totally should. Even as an adult, I think that you will enjoy it. Even as a child, you might not get all the funny language puns that they do in it. Like, there's this one part where he meets the weatherman and he's like, do you think it will rain? And the weatherman's like, I don't know. And Max, that's the main character, is like, but you're the weatherman. He's like, no, I'm the weatherman. So I tell you whether you should do this or do that. So it's a bunch of pun stuff like that, which I adore. And I think everyone needs to read it. And I am so excited to read this book. I've read the original so many times, but I'm excited to read the annotated version now. The next book I picked up, I actually had my mom order it to the store because she knew I was coming, and when I went to that Barnes & Noble in February, they didn't have this in store. But I got the box set for The Trials of Apollo by Rick Riordan. This will go on my Percy Jackson shelf right here, and so now I have all 3 box sets. So I have the 15 main books for this series, and then I have the special edition one right here. I do need to get some of the, I know there's novellas and other stories in the Percy Jackson universe that I don't have yet, but I have the 15 main books, and I am so excited. I've actually read 4 of these. I never read the last one, which is The Tower of Nero. For some reason, I never read that book. So this year I plan on rereading The Heroes of Olympus, which is the second one, and then finishing up The Trials of Apollo. The next book I picked up was The Inheritance Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and this includes The 100,000 Kingdoms, The Broken Kingdoms, The Kingdom of Gods, and a new novella, The Awakened Kingdom. When I picked this up, this is not the trilogy that I meant to pick up. I meant to pick up, apparently, the Broken Earth trilogy. The first one in that is the 5th season. And I saw the 5th season, and I think I saw the second one in that. And then this was at the end of the shelf, and I didn't do my research. And So I picked this one up instead because I'm like, well, if I'm going to like all of them, I might as well get the trilogy. But also, like, look how floppy that is. That's another reason I was encouraged to get this. So this is a fantasy series. It says gods and mortals, power and love, death and revenge, she will unleash them all. So I don't know anything about this, but it sounds interesting, and I've heard really good things about N.K. Jemisin. I've never read any of her work, but very popular. She has a lot of books that are very popular on BookTube, and so I'm excited to check this one out. The next book I got was Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. I honestly don't know anything about this book. It's about estranged siblings who have to sort through their parents' belongings after their mother dies. I got it because I like the cover. It looks like a VHS tape, and I think that's cool. Barnes & Noble has like an exclusive where it has an actual slipcover for this, but they didn't have any of those like in good condition at the store when I went, so I didn't get it. Earlier this year, I read Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano, and the cover kind of that was a VHS cover, and this cover reminded me of it. So, I don't know. I've never read Geneva Rose, but I'm excited to read this one and see how her writing is. The next book I got was God Killer by Hannah Connor, I believe is how you say her name. This is the beginning of at least a duology, possibly a trilogy. I'm not sure about that. I know there's a sequel to this one, though. This is set in a world where gods are forbidden, and Kissin, I don't know if that's how you say her name, is the main character. Her family was killed by a god when she was young, and so now she makes a living killing deities and killing gods. Again, haven't read this. Haven't heard anything. I've never read anything by Hannah Connor, but I've heard a lot about this book and the sequel, and one of my friends is reading it right now, but I can't remember who. Highly recommended it. Love a good fantasy story, so I decided to pick this one up too. The next book is How I'll Kill You by Ren DeStefano. DeStefano? I'm not quite sure how to say their last name. This is about a girl, Sissy, I'm assuming is her name. She is part of a family of serial killers, but one day I think she falls in love with like her hit and decides she doesn't want to be a serial killer anymore. I believe that's kind of what this is about. Yes, it sounds like she's fallen in love with the person she was supposed to kill. I have heard about this book from several people on YouTube. I love this cover. This is not the original cover, but I really like this one. I think it's very cool. I think Haley Hughes is the one that I saw this cover on first, but I've heard her talk about it for sure. And, I always like a little thriller book, and I picked this one up, and now I can't wait to see what it's about. In my last book haul, when I went to the Friends of the Library sale, I got China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. This is the second book in the trilogy. I didn't have the first book or the third book, although I have read Crazy Rich Asians, which is the first one. And we were headed out of the store, and they had these books on a table, and I was like, oh, I need to get those books. I forgot. Oh, but I already have so many books. And then my husband was like, come on, we have to go. And we got to the register, and the clerk started pulling books out of the basket that all four of us have been putting our books in. And my husband had already put Crazy Rich Asians and Rich People Problems in the basket, and I didn't know because he knew that I needed the other two in the trilogy. So these are by Kevin Kwan. The only unfortunate thing is I have like a trade paperback version of Crazy Rich Girlfriend, so it doesn't exactly match up, but that's okay. Crazy Rich Asians has been made into a movie. It is about Rachel, who is dating a man named Nicholas, and Nicholas's sister, I believe, or cousin, or niece, someone in his family is getting married. So he takes her to China. And what she doesn't know is his family is incredibly rich, and they have rich people problems, which is probably why the last one is called Rich People Problems. I adore the movie for Crazy Rich Asians. Again, I've read the first book. I really, really liked it. It was a little different than the movie. And now that I have all three of them, again, they don't really match, but they go like this. They don't really match, but I have all three of them, so now I can read the rest. I can read the rest of them and finish out the trilogy. I don't really like buying books that I've already read because sometimes they're not books that I want to reread. Like, I'm very particular about books that I've read, and I'm very particular about buying books that I've read, but I also don't like to buy books that I haven't read, because then what if I don't like them? So that's why I get so many things from the library. But I have read Crazy Rich Asians. I knew I loved that book. I also have read The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. This is the first of her horror novels. Well, this is the first novel of T. Kingfisher's that I read, and I loved it. I read it for the first time maybe 3 years ago, maybe only 2 years ago. Well, I think it was 3. It doesn't matter. Anyway, this book is about Kara, who is going through a divorce and moves in with her eccentric uncle. His name is Earl. Earl owns a tourist attraction that is, it's a tourist hotspot, the Glory to God Museum of Natural Wonders, Curiosities, and Taxidermy. And so she's living in an apartment above that. And one night she hears something, so she goes downstairs and finds a hole in the wall behind a painting. And when she goes through the hole, she is transported into another world. And there are these really creepy creature things that look like they're hunting and try to attack her. And then she gets an unexpected friend. She finds an unexpected friend in the barista next door. They both go into the other world and stuff happens. There are some scenes in this book, even though I read it 2 or 3 years ago, they stick with me. I love this. I love T. Kingfisher. I've read almost all of her horror books. She also has fantasy books. I've talked about them on my channel before. I just really like her writing. I knew that this was one I'd want to read again, so I decided to pick up a copy of my own. This is going to be weird, but I picked up 3 books from the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I have the first book, which is Throne of Glass. There are 8 total in the series. One of them is a collection of novellas about characters, I think, that are in the series. I've only read the first 4. I read up to Queen of Shadows. I believe that's the last one I read. And so I decided to start building my collection of Throne of Glass. I want to reread them this year. And so I have the first one. I picked up Heir of Fire, which is not the second one, it's the third one. Because out of the 4 that I read, this was my favorite one. And I was like, if I have a book, I also have all of these on my Nook account, but I have to read those on my phone or my iPad because my Nook is so incredibly old that it isn't even supported. I got an email saying they're not supporting it anymore. And so I wanted to get physical copies of them too, and my friend had given me Throne of Glass. So anyway, Heir of Fire, it's the third one. It's my favorite of the 4 that I've read. You are still following Selena Sardothian. She is an assassin. In the first book, Throne of Glass, she competes in a competition to be the king's assassin. And then she goes against the king in the second book. And in the third book, Heir of Fire, she has to go to a different kingdom area of the world to find out more about her past. And she gets an unexpected sidekick. And I remember really, really liking this one. So I picked up Heir of Fire. And then I'm telling you, this is so out of order. I picked up Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms because I've always heard that you should read these. Well, I haven't heard. A lot of people read these in tandem, where they read so many chapters in this book, and then they read a couple chapters in this book, and then back and forth, and that's how you read them. You read them at the same time. And I figured that would be harder to do in ebook format, so if I was getting physical books anyway, I would just get the 2 that go together. So I have half of the Throne of Glass books. I still need the second one, and the novella, and the last one. I'm missing one more. Queen of Shadows, the 4th one. Second, 4th, the novella, and the last one. So hopefully I'll get those this year. And if not, again, I can read the books. Like I have the whole collection on my Nook. So I figured I could read the ones I have in person, like physical copies of. I can read those. And then when it's time for one that I don't have, I'll just go to the Nook version. And this is a lot of explaining for something that you probably really don't care about. The next book I picked up was Burn the Negative by Josh Winning. This, I've heard about it on BookTube. I think I heard about it from Gabby Reads. I don't know. I hear about so many books here on BookTube. But this one is about Laura, who is a journalist, and she has come to LA to cover a remake of a 90s horror film that supposedly was cursed. And she's following that. I don't know. Sounds cool. It's a horror book, sounds like a thriller book. It has, oh, cool. You can't really see, but like it has right here, it looks like film stuff. Like the size of the film right here. Anyway, I've heard about it. Sounded interesting, decided to pick it up. And the last book I got was No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville. This has been turned into a Netflix movie, as you can see, because it says right here, the only one I could get was the movie cover. Not how I usually prefer to get my books, but I'll take what I can get. I've seen the movie for this. Every October, I try to do, I call it the 31 movies of horror-ween. So in the month of October, I watched 31 horror movies. And when this movie came out, that year, that was one that I had watched. And it is, you are following Stephanie. She has moved to a notoriously cheap neighborhood of Birmingham, but then creepy things start happening. And she hears creepy noises and things like that. I have read one other book by Adam Neville. I read The Ritual. I did not like that book. I know a lot of people do. I thought that it was very slow, very boring. Didn't like the book. Didn't like the movie for The Ritual either. I tried watching it again after I read the book. Still not a fan. I did like the movie for No One Gets Out Alive, so I'm interested in reading the book, and then I'll probably watch the movie again, because that's what I do. I read the book and then I watch the movie. But anyway, I'd heard good things about it. I remember that I liked the movie, and so I wanted to read the book. Those are all the books that I picked up in my book haul. I have a lot of books to read to my physical TBR. These are the books that I own that I haven't read yet. They're going to go in the TBR jar. I have a lot of reading ahead of me, but I could not be more excited. I can't wait to read a lot of these books. And I even got a couple that I've read before, and I'm proud of myself for not just picking books that I hadn't read. But now I want to know, have you read any of these books? What did you think? All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.